It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
Hello and welcome back to another video. I'm Zelp, and today we are going to look at how we can basically make a sort of a standard multiplier that we can compare with other multipliers in Warframe, and we're trying it with Viral, and we have came out with multiple ways so far. None successful, and in the last video, the one that I showcased, which is this one, turns out doesn't work as well, and I'm gonna explain why that is. And it was really frustrating because I was in the midst of doing the codes, I was putting everything in, I spent hours on the spreadsheet, and then I realized that it doesn't work. So the reason why it doesn't work is because that we are comparing between the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario. So best case scenario, you proc all 10 viral procs at the start, right? Worst case scenario, you don't proc all the way until the end, where let's say this in this case is 20% viral chance. So you don't proc all the way to the end until roughly it will take you about 50 hits in order to proc 10. So the last 10 hits of your 50 hits is going to start proccing. So this is the worst case scenario, and this is where there is a problem. You'll find that if your best case scenario is always when you proc first, and your worst case scenario is that you don't proc until the end, the front part is always going to be the same, and so is the back part, because the average, which is the green line, I feel like I'm actually making a mess here, the green line is always going to be the same. It's going to be this line with the exact same gradient, and then this line with the exact same gradient, and in between you might have a flat surface as well. All these are always going to be the same, even if you change the percentage over here. So if it's, let's say, 5%, this part is going to drag on to become even longer, but that's pretty much it. So these is still going to be same, this is going to be same. So obviously something with 5% viral chance can have the same damage output as something with 20% viral chance. So it has to be changed. So this whole thing that we made in the last episode is really just a really good way to see your damage output per hit if you only have 20% viral chance. It's actually not good for comparing, so I made a mistake there, and it really cost me a lot. I feel like no one is as disappointed as I am, because I really thought that I was about to finish, and also I spent like days thinking about this. So because of that flaw, because now I know what went wrong, I also know how to remedy it, and we can actually fix it. So my proposal is pretty simple, and it's actually a lot simpler than what we have, that whole messed up thing, is that we create the curve without any breaks. So if, let's say, you have 20% viral chance, okay, so this means that if you want to use Informer, if you want to do 10 hits to get the max stack, all you have to do is just divide by the status chance, you'll get 50. So you know that you need 50 hits to do at least 10 in layman terms, probability wise. So if I were to divide this 50, right, by 10, because roughly each one part of 50, when you divide by 10, is going to proc once. So in this case, it's going to be 5. So 50 divided by 10, it's going to be 5. This means for every 5 hits, you're probably going to proc once. Now we can draw a line, and the line is going to look like this. Okay, so the first hit, oops, I'm bad at drawing straight lines, but I'm going to try. So it's going to proc, right? Somewhere within the 5 hits, it's going to proc once, and then you're going to do an extra 100% damage, because that is what Viral does. The first proc gives you an extra 100%, every subsequent gives you 25%. And then after that, for a whole lot over here, is going to slowly crank up with 25% all the way until you gain an extra 325%, which is what Viral gives you. So from here, we need to draw a straight line all the way to 50. Okay, it's not really there, but you know what, let me try again. Close enough. Okay, and after that is going to be a straight line over here to infinity, right? Because you have maximum stack. So whenever you reduce, I'm actually not gonna draw this part because we already know that this is where the maximum is. So if you're comparing more than 50 hits for this probability, you know that the extra damage that you'll be getting is 325%. So what we're interested in is in between these. So I am going to remove this line, right? Okay, and let's do a dotted line all the way down straight for comparison so that later you can actually see what I'm trying to do here. The status chance basically determines how long this distance is from start to finish. Therefore, if I were to, let's say, take this part from here all the way over here and play with it, I can actually create a situation. Let me just, how do I do this again? There you go. We can actually create a situation where it looks like this. So if the probability is 50%, right? So therefore in roughly 20 hits, it's going to finish 10 procs. So we can actually pull this all the way to 20, and then you actually see something like this now, right? And this is going to be the new curve. So therefore you can see at the 5th hit, now you do a lot more average damage. And then by the time you reach 20, you should have proc at least 10 hits. So therefore you do 325% a lot sooner. Let's say if we have 100%, right? 100%, you still need 10 hits in order to get it to the maximum. Look at these lines. Look at these lines and its gradient, how it changes. So if you have like 5%, it's gonna go, oh, ooh, okay, that's too much. Okay, sorry. Or 10%, it's going to stretch out more. You can see how this part actually goes down a lot more. And then if you have 50%, as we can see just now, it goes up a lot more. So therefore your average increases. So we just need to come out with a formula to represent this line. And then the line is going to change as your status chance change. And then we can use that formula to find your average damage here based on what hit. Okay, so far I think that is what we need to do, and I don't really see any flaws from here. I do want to point out that this is our 3rd attempt. So just a recap, the first attempt that we did was we tried to find the area under the graph, and this is pretty much the total damage done. And that didn't work out because when you try to find the average and then divide by the total number of hits to find the average damage done per hit, I find that it actually comes down really close to whatever percentage that you're comparing with. One of the reasons is because we did not take into account the number of hits as a variable. So because of that, we learned that we need to put in a table. So we will have number of hits versus the viral chance. And then from there, you can see that for every hit, how much it increased. So that's what we learned from our first attempt. Now on our second attempt, we learned that comparing with the best case scenario versus the worst case scenario doesn't work. This green line is going to give you the similar result throughout the different percentage. Unless you go above 50%, then you might actually get some variety there. But it is not good for comparing between different viral chance because you get similar numbers. So now we are at our 3rd attempt, and basically we're going to create a formula that changes with the status chance. And I do think that this time around it's going to work. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and sound like a after school special, but I do want to point out that mistakes happen, and this is similar to life. Bad things happen, but the key here is to not give up, to find out what went wrong, how to remedy it, and try again. And you can relate this to anything. It could be relationships, it could be, I don't know, running a business. If you get into a bad relationship, do better next time. And for whatever wrong choices you have made, learn from it, do not repeat it, and try again. Thank you very much for watching. I will come up with the equation by tomorrow, and hopefully we'll get it done day after that. And then finally, we will have our comparable multiplier for viral. Bye bye.